So in this video, I'm not going to do a single note playing other than what you just heard. It's going to be on chords. But I wanted to let you know that I do have a bunch of videos on arpeggios, licks, scales, economy picking, sweep picking, etc. Because a lot of what YouTube's been pushing is only my chord videos recently. So I want people to be aware there is a lot of other content on my channel. Anyways, let's jump into this. So what I'm going to do is show you a basic chord shape, just this D7 shape. Then from that, I'm going to show how to add variations, extensions, alterations, etc. to make over 50 shapes on it. You can then take those shapes and move them anywhere in the neck to any of the other 12 notes, so you can create over 600 shapes from this one reference point, basically. And that's kind of why I came up with this idea. It was when I first got to GIT, I was mostly coming from a rock and metal background. I had studied classical at university, and I had done a little bit of jazz and some blues, but I was kind of overwhelmed with how many different chords, all the different alterations and other extensions and stuff in every key that I had to learn. So what I use is basically a reference shape, and then thought to myself, how can I change this to create these other shapes without having to just memorize page after page of shapes. So let's jump into it. So this is basically just a D7. It's a root, D note, major third, and flat 7, which makes it down to 7. It doesn't have a fifth in it. If you really wanted the fifth, you could add the fifth in the bass, which would create D7/A. It can be considered it's an inversion because the root isn't the lowest note now. And any of these chords we do coming up, that's one of the variations you can do. You can make any of them into an inversion by adding the A note into it. But the most common variations we're going to do on this is just take this D7 and make it minor 7. So all I have to do is lower that third 1 fret on it. So this is where, if you know some basic chord theory and know which note in the chord it is, then even if you don't know if a major or minor version of it, if you know where the third is, the minor third is always one lower, major third is one up from the minor third. So that'd be your minor 7. Now if you want the major 7, all you have to do is take that flat 7 and make it into a 7, or it's raise it 1. And there's that. Now if you want more of a metal type sound, you could, instead of using this bass shape, you could take the 7th we're using and the root and add a power chord or a 5th in between it. So then you have a root 5th flat 7 or root 5th major 7. And with distortion, then that can work well with your power chords, or you can be right in there and switching between those. But anyways, let's get back to the chord shape. So the first one we're going to do then as a variation is add the 9th. The 9th is just right below the 7th right here. So if you add that in, again, you can either pluck it with your fingers or you can strum it, doesn't matter. Now by knowing this is a 9th and not just memorizing that this is a D9 fingering, then what you can do is easily, if you have those alterations, add a sharp 9 just by raising that 9th 1 fret. Anytime something's sharped, it's raised 1 fret. If it's flatted, it's lowered 1 fret. So you have that basic D9, you can turn to a sharp 9, or bar the first finger across and pick up the pinky, and you can make it into a flat 9. Okay. Now with that in mind too, the variations we did previously, I could then take that sharp 9 and make it into a major 9, or a major 7 with a sharp 9. Or I could make it into minor 7 with a sharp 9. So you can again do those, changing the minor or the 7th to make it into a major 7 on any of these fingerings. Now if I go one note further below and bar this, then I get that 5th back in, the same 5th that we were using on the 6th string, 6th and 1st being the same notes on here. Now some people will have trouble getting clean notes to ring out here because of that, this finger touching it when you're barring, and that's fine. You know, here's a case where before we leaving the 5th off, we've put the 5th back in, but now if we're going to leave the root off, it's okay, especially in a lot of the bands that might be using this. You're probably going to have a bass player hitting that root, or a piano player, or keyboard, another guitarist, someone hitting that. So it's not uncommon to just take this higher piece and leave that root off on that. Okay, so anyway, so that'd be a D9, and that shape also works good, for like sliding, or if you want a quick strumming pattern on the higher notes. Okay, now we just said this is the fifth, so again, alterations. We could do a sharp 5 or flat 5 just by raising that up one or pushing it back one. So I can do that by, again, taking this bar shape and then just adding the pinky in to get that sharp 5. If I wanted to alter it more, I could have the sharp 9 and the sharp 5. Or I could do the flat 9 on the second string and the flat 5. So again, this is where, and you can just keep that third right there. And then on any of these, we could also add in, make it minor. And there's the sharp 9, flat 5, and minor. So D minor 7, sharp 9, flat 5. So again, you can create any of these. You could do the, raise the major note up and bar across those three to create, again, a major D major 7 with the sharp 9 and the sharp 5. Hard to say some of these chords, but they're really not that complex. If again, you could take a sharp 9 and a flat 5. So this is what I mean. There's so many variations you can do. As long as you know what these notes are, you can then mix and match them in any way. Now let's go further with that. So we can also take, if this is a 5, the 13 is the same as a 6. So if I go up here to this note, that's adding the 13 in. I've already got the flat 7 and the 9, so this would then become a 13th. So you could add that in and off to change it from a 9th to a 13th chord. And of course you could add any of those, making it minor, making it major 13, making the alterations of adding the sharps or flats on like the 9th or something else. So that could be done in addition to adding the 13. You could do inversions if you have enough fingers by adding the 5th and the bass on any of these. Now let's go even more. So we've got this, again, the basic chord shape of the 1, 3, flat 7. Well, you go 1 fret back from the flat 7, you have a 6. So then this would be 1, 3, 6. So that could be D6. If you want the 5, you could put that back in. There's a D6 with the 5th in the bass, or D6/A. Now, if I want a 6, 9, that's easy, because again, we already know this is the 9th down here in a second. We've already got the major and the 6, so I can add that and get the 6, 9 sound. If I want the minor, then I can refinger this, so I still have that 6, but now I've got the minor third instead of the 9, and get a minor 6, 9. Okay. Now, if we want another variation, I could take these two notes and put the note in between it right here, so I could just bar across those three. And since this was a major third, right above it is your 4th. And I'm going to show, in fact, I'll show it right now. This is kind of showing everything I'm talking about here. So again, the circle ones is the root 3rd and flat 7th. Then you can see the 6th, the major 7th, the flat 3rd that makes it minor, the 9 and 5. The 13th then is up here, and it gives some of the chord formulas on top. But keep in mind, chord formulas you can easily find. Either some books will list it, like this chord book that I suggested in another video, Melbay's Deluxe Encyclopedia of Guitar Chords, but other ones, or you can easily Google and find the formulas for any of them. I didn't put down, oops, wrong hand, everything's backwards, I'm looking at the monitor, so I didn't put down the sharp and flat 5ths because I didn't want to clutter it. But just remember, anytime you want to sharp a note, it's just one higher, flat a note, it's one lower. So that's easy enough to add. There will be all of my videos, if there's anything like this I show on screen, whether it's tab or like this, you can find my Patreon site, which will be listed in the description for free of charge. There'll be a link under the video that you can click and download, and that will include this page on this video. You don't have to be a member. If you just go there, you'll find this all open to the public. I'd love it if you became a member, but I don't want to limit access to the information to people who are members. So anyways, this then, if I do in a bar across, that's a root 4th and a flat 7, so it doesn't have a 3rd anymore, so it could be considered a D7 sus4. Now, if I want to add in the 9th and 5th also to that, I could consider this the 11th chord too, because the 4th and 11th are the same. So that'd be fine. And let's see, another one we could do. This goes a little bit further away from the chord shape, but it's still, I think you can kind of visualize it from it. So remember we had the 5th here. If we flat that 5th, then put down the root again, put the minor 3rd, and then we have the flat 7 here, but I'm going to instead lower that to 7th. So instead of it being here, it's going to be back 1. So that's the same as the 6th. So in this case, then you end up with a fingering like this. The flat 5, the root, the 6, and, or sorry, the minor 3rd, and then the 6th down here. That's a diminished chord then, diminished 7. So that would be considered a D diminished 7, potentially. All right, so I think we'll stop at that. I think covered a lot of the main shapes. Of course, like you can take it in, because, like I said, you can move these to anywhere on the neck, on any one of these fingerings. And you can create your own chord shapes and then variations on. I'm sure a lot of you have already done things like a C to a C major 7, to a C7, etc. So see how many different shapes you can create from the same basic chord, and that will just not force you to memorize as much. And personally, I don't like memorizing stuff. Anyways, hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching.